Alright, so what we're going to do today is this little ditty right here. So remember that I call it a distributive property, but that's not really what it is. I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it by this, but here's where kids are going to make a mistake. This is 64 to the first power, so you have to multiply it by 1. In other words, this becomes 64 to the 7/6, because 7 over 6 times 1, right? And then we have n to the 6 over 1, right? Because that's what this is, 6 over 1, times 7 over 6. Okay? So then to reduce that, I'm going to deal with this 64 7 over 6 in a second. But here, this 6 cancels with this 6, so I'm just left with n to the 7th. Does that make sense? Alright. So now this 64 to the 7/6, remember that is the 6th root. In other words, this should look like this, the 6th root of 64 raised to the 7th times n raised to the 7th. And at some point we'll combine these sevenths, okay? So I got to think, is there a number that I raised to the 6th power that equals 64? I think it's 2. Let's see. So I turn on my calculator, and I'm going to say 2 raised to the 6th power. Ta-da! And so that is 2. So remember that 2 raised to the 6th power is equal to 64. So then we rewrite this as the 6th root of 2 to the 6th power raised to the 7th times n to the 7th. And so those cancel out, right? Because when you take the 6th root of a 6th power, it reduces down to 2 raised to the 6 over 6, or 2 to the 1, or just 2. Don't forget this raised to the 7th power times n to the 7th. Now I'm going to look in our answers to see if it leaves it like that or if it expands it. Okay, it doesn't leave it like that. You got to expand it. So what I need to do is I need to figure out what 2 to the 7th power is. Now I think it's 128, but I'm just going to plug it in the calculator to make sure. 128 it is. So our final answer is 128 n to the 7th power. Now, like I said, these problems are kind of rigged up to be a little bit harder than the actual test questions, but if you can figure out these problems, the test questions will be easy. They're rigged up to where you get to use a bunch of properties all at once. You get to take roots and then square things or raise things to powers, and so you use 2 or 3 of these properties or laws of exponents for each problem. Okay, so I'll leave that up there for